The midnight moonlight crept through the curtains, illuminating the room within. Eerie protrusions burst forth from the floor and walls, casting grim and wavering shadows that seemed to stalk their way across the room. Octavia had never enjoyed nighttime. Her night sight had never been something to shout about. Sadly, Vinyl's room was full of all manner of debris, casting irregular, pony-shaped shadows onto her imagination. The problem being, of course, that Octavia couldn't sleep. But an hour ago, this had been something of advantage during the nighttime activities. Now, though, it kept her mind turning over the same niggling doubts, snowballing them into overbearing worries and trepidations. She glanced at her partner. She supposed that was the correct term, was it not? It had been a worryingly infrequent label that she had been unable to apply to many other ponies. Yes, the insufferably idiotic, yet practically saintly, mare laying beside her was her partner. Octavia felt assured of this fact. She shifted once more, moving into a more comfortable sitting position, as opposed to awkwardly laying enveloped in Vinyl's embrace. It had started as being perfectly comfortable, but in Octavia's current fitful mood, she soon found the itch to constantly readjust her posture to remain uncomfortable. She stared out of the window. The curtains that were hastily pulled closed before the lesson began were still hanging ajar, fluttering softly in the breeze. Of all the sky available, the moon had taken the lion's share. It hung in the ethereal blackness, softly glowing amongst its confederacy of glimmering stars. She sat for a moment longer, or so it felt, watching the celestial bodies in perceptibly slow movement across the sky. A half-hour bled away as Octavia gaped at the stars, trying to surmise the shapes and intentions behind them. Maybe Luna herself had hidden the answers to her subjects' questions among the stars, if only Octavia had the time to search them thoroughly.
Hey, Octi. Trouble sleeping?
Octavia sharply turned, barely containing a surprised hiss. Vinyl almost leapt out of the bed at the sudden movement, caught halfway through blearily rubbing her eyes with her forehooves.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to wake you.
Vinyl chuckled, still groggy with the stupor of sleep. The moonlight caught her eyes at a sharp angle, bouncing their image in all their scarlet beauty to Octavia.
You had no problems with keeping me awake a little while ago. Why you still up? Thought you'd be the early-to-bed type.
Octavia playfully dug a hoof into Vinyl's stomach, eliciting a soft oof from the other mare. She toyed with her hooves for a moment, until Vinyl's characteristic impatience overtook her less characteristic manners. Octavia found a concerned pair of eyes cresting the horizon of her sight, as Vinyl crawled over to sit next to her.
Octi, are you okay?
Octavia slowly turned to Vinyl, unaware that her worry was so evident to the outside world. She wasn't shivering, nor were her eyes particularly dulled with the pallor of her trepidation. However, despite her almost poker-winning facade, Vinyl could identify the signs. The subtlest twitch in her left ear, the most minimal pause before each sentence, the way in which her eyes would drift from their target for but a second before being snapped back into place. Vinyl had, much like a flock of birds who foresee incoming disasters, found the clues and took the necessary action. Octavia felt the uncertainty in the hug, and returned it without hesitation. She almost crushed Vinyl's ribs with the sheer pressure of the embrace, not releasing her for any feasible period of time.
I want to ask you a question, Vinyl. I need your answer.
The embrace slackened ever so slightly, before Vinyl redoubled her efforts. She leaned closer, whispering her reply into Octavia's ear.
Anything you need, Octi, I need.
Where are we going with this, Vinyl?
Vinyl's brain froze, barely able to work her own counter-question into her sentence out of a sludge of a full babble.
I don't get what you mean.
Octavia released the hug, furiously jabbing a hoof at herself and Vinyl.
Where are we going with this? Us. Where are we going, Vinyl?
Vinyl experienced something rare that night. For every argument, there was a counter-argument, no matter how simple the comeback was. For every joke, a chuckle and a compliment. For the first time in her admittedly short memory, Vinyl had encountered a sentence she had no immediate reply to. One that she felt required far more thought than she could give in such a short time span.
I don't know, Octi.
Octavia's breath caught in her throat, attempting to seal off any access to her lungs. She glanced at Vinyl accusingly for a moment, mouth agape with superfluous shock.
But I thought you'd been here before. You said you'd been with countless fillies and colas in your younger years.
Vinyl gave a small laugh, more out of necessity than mirth. A short, sharp, almost tragic laugh.
Yeah, and think how long they probably lasted. Sure, I had some fun, but I never remembered any of their names afterwards. Never even found out half of them in the first place. Those weren't the same. Not like this. Not like what I have with you.
Despite herself, Octavia smiled. Her worries were still there, though for a moment they had been set aside in her mind.
Look, Octi, I'll hold my hooves up. I've been playing it by ear. Most ponies I get close to find some other filly a week later and go post to post all their lives. I don't have a plan, and that's most of the fun with you. I get to take each day at a time, be happy I got them, and be happier I got them with you. It's like exploring, except now we can do it together, and face what's out there together.
Octavia snuck the tip of her hoof into the corner of her eye, deftly removing a tear before any attention was brought to it. She leaned forward, lightly pecking Vinyl in the lips. Even in the pale light of the moon, Vinyl's white coat reddened noticeably.
Well, I suppose we'll have to search this all out ourselves then. I should have known coming to you for advice and closure would be a fruitless effort.
I don't know, I got some apples in the kitchen. Too late to eat though, Octi.
Octavia chuckled, finally settling down muzzle to muzzle with Vinyl. She brought her body close, loosely embracing her with a free foreleg, a posture she could remain comfortable in, thankfully.
Night, Octi. Make sure you grab some beauty sleep. You could use it.
Octavia suppressed her gasp, eyes flicking open to find a wry smile rendered on Vinyl's face in the faltering moonlight. She shut her eyes, burrowing her head further into the pillow to gather more comfort. Her own little smile flickered over her lips, an early warning to the wary Vinyl.
Says the pony to whom beauty is as prevalent as intelligence.
You know, Octi, it's nicer if I pretend that one's a compliment.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Vinyl.
Octavia wrapped her forelegs around Vinyl's midriff, vainly attempting to heave her away from the doorway. She dug her hooves into the ground to gain leverage, finally loosening Vinyl's grasp in a crashing two-mare pile-up. Octavia slowly brought herself to her hooves, donning her most sincerely disappointed facial expression.
Look, you have to come shopping with me, whether you like it or not.
Vinyl attempted to hide behind herself in a rather convoluted fetal position, groaning into the paving slabs and old chewing gum.
I don't like clothes shopping. Come on, we just went to your rehearsal. Can't we just go home?
Octavia dug her hooves in further, metaphorically this time. Her disappointment became a saddened pout, and she made sure to force her eyes to water with awaiting tears. Vinyl glanced at the imminent and purposeful downpour, and released a resigned sigh. She got onto her hooves, noticing how the tears rapidly evaporated, and a smile unfolded on Octavia's face.
There we are. You need a new gala dress, Vinyl. I won't take no for an answer.
Vinyl chuckled, falling in line beside Octavia.
You're a manipulative mare, Octavia. That move just then was nasty.
A mare does what she must, Vinyl. Besides, you've pulled the same trick on me many a time. You've become an accomplished user of the puppy eyes maneuver.
Vinyl slung a foreleg around Octavia as they walked down the street, giving a tight squeeze before she released her hold.
I guess that makes you my faithful student, Octi. Besides, I already have an outfit.
If you're suggesting you appear as the Grand Galloping Gala in that tin-foil outfit, then don't say another word. There are Dr. Hoof episodes that would be embarrassed to use that.
Vinyl took her turn to pout, lowering her head a few degrees, removing her shades, and ensuring Octavia was treated to a panoramic view of her glistening, watery rubies. Octavia noticed the attempt to sway her opinion and turned away, scoffing at the sight of it.
It doesn't work if I just did it to you.
She turned back. The very same eyes were still staring at her. Vinyl was nothing if not determined once she set her mind to a task. Octavia occasionally likened that mentality to a cave pony rubbing sticks together for fire. Vinyl often didn't enjoy this view once she realized Octavia was implying she was simply bull-headed.
Look, Vinyl, we have to get moving. If you'll just...
Vinyl's stoic pouting achieved new levels. Octavia wasn't sure that amount of tears could be damned any longer.
All right. If you come with me, I'll make it up to you later on.
Vinyl decided to play this round cagily, still keeping the safety off her tear-strewn eyes.
How are you gonna do that?
Well, I'll do you some favors later on.
For reasons that cannot be explored at this time, due to the potential of young fillies and colts reading this fiction, both Octavia and Vinyl shared a wry, knowing smile with each other. Vinyl drained away her alligator tears, adopting a sprightly spring in her step as she trotted to the Kennerlot shopping mall that awaited them both.
You see, Octi? That's why you're still my student.
After much searching, deliberation, and quick snacks in the coffee shops, Octavia and Vinyl finally happened upon the appropriate shop they had planned to visit. They arrived laden down with several bags of stuff that they hadn't planned to buy, but apparently the advertising departments of various high street shops had decided they should. The boutique itself was a large and flamboyant affair, lavishly decorated in things that looked very expensive, and Vinyl noted not very hard to fit in a saddlebag. It was also rather extravagantly tiled "Un magasin qui est un vraiment sympa," which Vinyl's rudimentary French had very little understanding of. Octavia scoffed at the name, before nudging open the door and allowing Vinyl entry into the room. Immediately upon entering the boutique, they were met by a seemingly aristocratic mare, her navy blue form shrouded under layers of pompous and extravagant dresswork. Octavia felt that she had taken it upon herself to be a one-mare mannequin for her designs. More to the point, it seemed she aimed to advertise all of them at once.
Well, good afternoon, ladies. I'm Toile, chatillante, and this is my boutique magnifique.
Octavia shied away from the overbearing sales pony approach, before carefully extending a hoof to shake Toile by. She released a slight sigh, noting the pent-up excitement in the other mare's shake.
Good afternoon to yourself, too. Myself and my friend were looking for gala dresses. I was wondering if you had any designs that would suit.
At once, Toile's eyes lit up, a canvas and pen appearing from a back room amidst an aura of midnight blue magic. The pen danced in the air, sketching lines that flowed as gracefully as the pony they were intended for. An avatar of multitasking, Toile was in the process of stitching the very same dress together with her magic as she drew it, until Octavia cut her off with a confused query.
Miss Toile, what are you doing?
The swarm of myriad objects and fabrics halted in midair, the ethereal blue magic holding them in place. Toile turned around from the midst of her artistic fervor, apologetically blushing.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry to have rushed ahead. All my dresses are hoof-made on demand. I have a talent for telling sizes at a glance and what would suit a mare. For example, your choice to wear a pink bow tie shows you wish to draw attention to your eyes. So I have designed your dress to do the same.
Octavia idly toyed with her bow tie, unsure how to respond to the insight to a thought process she wasn't even aware of. She had simply felt her bow tie looked nice. Vinyl snickered slightly in the background behind her as Toile returned to her work. A mannequin had been brought to the center, the various pieces of fabric and clothing forming in the air above it before plummeting onto the wooden form like birds at the sea. In this manner, a dress most elegant began to form. A long, flowing gown grew, jet black frilled with vibrant pink that coated the rump. The forelegs of the mannequin were enveloped in knee-length socks, a dim, slate gray topped with a subtle pink frill. On the left ear, a small rose of beautifully folded fabric was perched, and a necklace set with a Morgana in its center was draped over the neck. Toile stepped back, a set of scissors and a needle and thread her only remaining tools. They nipped away at some areas and extended others, refining and perfecting her work. Octavia stepped forward as Toile deferred to her, allowing Octavia full view of her work. Carefully, Octavia caressed the dress with a hoof, eyes floating over the design. It was truly a breathtaking sight to see something so personal created so quickly.
Feel free to try the dress on. I would not expect you to purchase one without having it worn before.
Octavia broke her gaze away from the garment, nodding. At once, the dress was lifted off the mannequin, and the miasma of midnight blue magic took Octavia a full hoof off the floor, affixing the dress onto her. It was something of a disorienting experience, to say the least, but it had achieved its intentions, and Octavia was carefully lowered to the floor, fully clothed. She felt it necessary to parade the outfit, noting how the way the silky socks hugged her forelegs was almost too enjoyable, and the outfit overall flowed perfectly with her own movements. The entire piece weighed barely more than a feather in her mind. She turned to Vinyl, who had been giving her more than one appreciative glance throughout the parade, and was currently standing with her mouth slightly agape in some amazed smile. Octavia executed a quick twirl for Vinyl, ending with an inquisitive glance. Vinyl took a moment to regain her faculties of speech in order to convey her thoughts to Octavia. Thankfully, her social acceptability faculty was also in place.
You look great, Octi. Just beautiful.
Octavia blushed, an action that the pink of the dress accented even more.
Well, I think that's one definitely bought. Now, Vinyl, I do believe it's your turn.
Octavia began the process of removing her outfit, a task that went unaided while the fashionista in the room was otherwise occupied. Vinyl stood forward, an aura of blue stealing her shades away and moving them to sit atop her horn. Toile simply stood for a moment, intently sizing up her task.
Intriguing that you choose to hide such striking eyes. They are truly your greatest asset. There should be a piece on the head to bring them out to the onlooker, while the rest of the body should blend with the mane to frame them. Yes, I have it!
Toile's once dulled eyes lit up with inspiration. The swarm of fabrics and equipment were thrown up into the air, congregating around the mannequin as they began to work. As before, a gown was formed, though this time it was a darker affair. The torso was clad in deep black, with a red band at the hip, while the rump was then covered with a piece that extended to hoof level, midnight blue and trimmed with a series of pink musical notes. More unfolded, an almost neck scarf-like piece, shimmering cayenne with a deep black musical note set into the center. Finally, a ruby-red rose was created, a carefully folded affair, much like Octavia's, that was set atop the mannequin's head. Toile finished her design, the last pieces falling into perfection as she heaved deep breaths from the exertion. Octavia had removed her own outfit in time to see Vinyl's being fitted. Vinyl was somewhat less cooperative, and fidgeted as Toile put on her outfit. Not that it seemed to affect the fashionista's worryingly acute magical capabilities. Vinyl was once more levitated down onto the floor, where she tottered unsteadily in her new outfit. She turned to Octavia, who emitted a sharp gasp. Whereas she had always found Vinyl's eyes alluring, now they were truly mesmerizing. The dress almost seemed like a magnifying glass to them, drawing all focus onto the bright eyes that awaited her verdict.
My. Well, it is possible to make you seem cultured. You're simply breathtaking.
Octavia noticed a small smile from Toile in the corner, as Vinyl gave her a customary twirl. Octavia also noted, in a thought pattern she didn't often champion as her most eloquent, that the outfit also accentuated Vinyl's curvy form in a most flattering way.
Well, I guess that means you've got yourself 2 happy customers, Toile. Isn't a pair of smiles the best payment you can get for your art, eh?
Toile chuckled, a glassy, fluid affair like a teaspoon stirred in a cup.
Indeed, but the rent pony doesn't accept smiles as payments. I can offer you a couple's discount if you'd like.
Octavia coughed, blood rushing to her face as Vinyl nervously scraped a hoof across the ground.
You figured it out, did ya?
Toile smiled, already writing out a receipt with a spare quill and parchment.
Like I said, my talent isn't sizing up a pony, or ponies. You two just seemed... It made sense to create dresses for you both together. It's rare you get a pair that trot through that door and shine together as you do. Now, about my payment.
Vinyl chuckled, reaching into her saddlebag for her money, while Octavia blushingly did the same. They both glanced at each other as they paid, faces burning though they were both aware the other was laughing inside.